everybody, and welcome to Frankenstein's podcast, where it's all about the monster. We are a creature feature podcast about monsters and why we love them. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Praska, and with me, as always, is
your other host, Khalid Hussein.
Hello, Khalid.
What up, Joe?
I'm well, friend. How are you?
Doing really good. Getting that Terry Gross energy from you today.
Yeah, well, you did it last time. I got to pull it this time.
It's very soothing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, pump the brakes. I'm doing pretty good, man. Just another week of working my butt off.
Yeah?
Yep. What about you?
Did you find it?
All right, Joe. Yes, I found my butt after working it off.
I'm frisky today, Khalid.
Yeah, that's one word for it.
Yeah.
What's new with you, buddy? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Things are great. I am real excited about our episode today because it is I was about to say penultimate, but that was the last one. It is the ultimate. Is that what you say? The final episode. The final episode of KAIJUBILEE, our celebration of one of cinema's greatest giant monsters, Godzilla, for his 70th anniversary. Happy birthday, Godzilla.
Happy birthday.
And we are celebrating with a banger. We are finally coming to the final, most recent Godzilla -1. But we have a special guest with us, Khalid.
Godzilla?
Close.
Oh, who?
We have joining us, friend of the podcast, local Twin Cities artist, and the designer of our very own logo and KAIJUBILEE logo, our buddy Jim Tandberg. Welcome, Jim.
Woo!
Hello, Joe. Khalid. It's good to be back.
Jim,
hear me?
hey.
Yeah, you sound excited.
I'm sorry. I thought we were going Terry Gross today.
He's trying to match our energy, Joe.
I misread the room. Forgive me.
It's okay. It's okay. How are you?
Oh, delightful, Joe. I exhausted. I decided to pretend I was 24 again and stayed up until 2 a.m. Now I was like 3 playing Bloodborne while drinking with a buddy. And then I had to wake up at like 7:30 and go over to this deadbeat friend's house and like watch it over. It's on the wrong side. Khalid, you ever been to a house that you just go there and you're like, man, I should call Child Protective Services?
Jesus.
This is like needles everywhere.
So let me approach
a stash of heroin in every church. In every
story for
the nooks and crannies just full of hazards.
Not even a working refrigerator in the house, Khalid. Can you believe it?
Why would there be? It's only children that live there.
Not for long if I have anything to do about it.
This is an exercise in perspective, you guys. I'm going to say that this morning I opened my doors to someone in need where I left out various books and various access points to my media collections to say, why don't you come enjoy yourself and live in comfort for a few hours while we had some repairs done? Yeah, that's more like it.
Yes, I did enjoy reading library books, Joe.
Thank you. Public library for the win.
Yep.
Yeah. So yes, Jimmy came to my house while fridge repair people came because I was working.
And I had the day off.
And it was good.
And there wasn't that much heroin there.
Only a little bit. I was suspiciously gone after he left, though.
Oh, well. I mean, so is most of the copper in the walls.
That's true. Fair enough.
Look, you don't get mad when the housekeeper takes some mints with her on her way out.
That's fair.
Joe, I almost drank one of your lukewarm pouches of knockoff, what is it, Capri Sun. I didn't take anything else. And it was payment enough.
Yeah,
services rendered.
There you go. We're even.
Yep.
Jim, I got a question for you.
Hit me.
So you excitedly designed our logo for this, and it's really amazing. So thank you for that. But I wanted to ask, what is your background with the Godzilla franchise?
Okay. It is storied. This is one of the big monsters of my childhood. My dad would frequently, growing up in the VHS era, we'd rent them. And my dad, kind of grew up in Oakland, California. So they had a large, those areas, like Japanese population. And so they kind of had as I understand it, public access television that would have programs from Japan. And so I think I believe that was kind of like a test bed where a lot of people would like just see these movies on TV there, and I mean, they're pretty popular in other parts of the country. So he would bring home a lot of those early like Godzilla movies on weekends and stuff. Sadly, the most embarrassing part is that the only two VHSs that we owned was the Roland Emmerich masterpiece from 1998, which I absolutely adored as a child, until I was not a child, and then I loathed it. And now I've kind of been like, they don't make movies like this. It felt bad at the time, but like, it's kind of dumb, fun, relic of an era. And the only actual Japanese Godzilla that I owned is one called Ebirah, Monster of the Deep, which I remember the VHS copy from it. I'm pretty sure my dad got it from a Menards bin, and it had a 50-cent sticker on it. And it is maybe one of the worst Godzilla movies I have ever seen. But like, the monster is a lobster, but he's got like the face of a mosquito. And like 90% of the fight is just them in water splashing around in a big tank. It was probably a nightmare to film, but like, it's not exciting to watch at all. It's just like, oh god, it's kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn, where I think it's like a few people get like hijacked their yacht by criminals, and then they end up on this island, and there's a terrorist organization called Red Bamboo there. That's the only word I remember for the dub. It's just Red Bamboo. And Red Bamboo controls this giant lobster to attack ships in order to steal the cargo from the ships. And then coincidentally, Godzilla's sleeping in a cave on this island too. So in order to escape the island, the heroes have to like team up and like wake up Godzilla and get him to attack this big lobster. It's terrible, but man, I loved it. I watched it so many times.
It's rare that like Godzilla being on an island is like your lucky break.
Yeah, it's that is a sentiment not commonly used throughout the series, I do have to say. Yeah, it's like, oh, thank God, there's Godzilla.
Like, even when he's a hero, it's like with trepidation. Here, it's like, oh man, I'm starting to think I had nothing going for me.
We're gonna fall to Red Bamboo. There's probably like 3 people in the world who would understand that, like find that as funny as I do. But yeah, no. So I fucking love Godzilla. Just a wonderful. I'm also one of the people. Is not Godzilla. I like the 1998 design. It's 4 years after Jurassic Park. They weren't going to give us the thick boy because it's the 90s. It's America. Don't. They're lame as shit. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, nobody had an ass then. You're right.
No. Yeah, if you were to take the T-Rex of Jurassic Park and mix it with Godzilla, you could do worse. I think it's a fine design. It's bullshit. He can't breathe fire.
Well, he breathes fire. He didn't do the atomic breath.
No, he doesn't breathe fire. He breathes.
You're right. It was like the wind.
In the 2014 one, he's just a dinosaur.
No. The 1998 one.
Yeah. Or 98. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. He just screams at taxis and then they explode in fire in a way that they could cut that shot directly into trailers to make it look like he's using his signature heat ray.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like it.
Explosive scream is cool if you can like execute it well.
Yeah, and actually, to that movie's credit, it's kind of in an era where the CG model of Godzilla, it's not freaking bad. And like the special effects around it are fantastic because it's like high level Hollywood physical, like all the cars are actual cars that they're like putting like hydraulics in the street and like jumping and moving. So like a lot of the shots kind of look freaking incredible,
Well, I think
pointed out.
Yeah, our episode, we were pretty positive on it. And like, it's like you said, it's a relic of the time. It's kind of a fascinating thing to look at.
It was just so bummer with like, Batman movies and all that with like nerd media, which is such a coveted like franchises after post Marvel. But like back then it was just like, fine, we'll make a Godzilla movie for you nerds, but like we're going to look down on you for it, and it always felt bad to just be like, we'll give you what you want, but it's not actually what you want,
Yeah. That being said, I have a question for you, Khalid.
Okay.
What is Godzilla's favorite James Dean movie?
What?
What is Godzilla's favorite James Dean movie?
Oh, I know this.
Do you? The James Dean movie I can think of is Rebel Without a Cause.
Huh?
And I can't think of anything there that Rebel Without a Kaiju. I don't know. What is it?
Reptile Without a Cause.
Boo! So his favorite James Dean movie is not the James Dean movie?
I actually like Rebel Without a Kaiju better.
Yeah, it sounds
You
cool.
said that one.
That is cool. That's a segue, Khalid. What are we talking about today?
Thanks.
Also, I didn't know that. I was wrong. I'm not going to mention what I thought it was.
Yeah, you said it so confidently. I was like, is it that easy? I had to like search my brain for any James Dean info. Did you come up with that, Joe?
No, I found it online.
Okay, cool.
There's there's like a weird Godzilla coloring book that's like, I think, a coveted thing, and like people post screenshots of it, and it's just weird images of Godzilla puns. So that's where I find some of these.
Well, doing the Lord's work.
Exactly. Yeah. What are we talking about, Khalid?
Thanks for asking, Joe. Today we're talking about the 2023 film Godzilla -1, directed by Takashi Yamazaki. And I've got a synopsis from our homeboy Google. It goes a little something like this. Japan has barely recovered from the Second World War when a gigantic peril emerges off the coast of Tokyo. Koichi, a deserter traumatized by his first confrontation with Godzilla, sees this as an opportunity to redeem his conduct during the war. That's it.
What a monster.
They're creatures of the abstract that live off potential energy.
It's alive!
Nice, Khalid. That was a good description, and measured enough to be a good length, I'd say. So well
Succinct.
done. Yeah, succinct.
Like they always are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
A little background before we dig into some thoughts here. This film is part of what they call the Reiwa era, which is kind of the current era of Godzilla. Began in 2016 with Shin Godzilla. This era features the two big theatrical films so far: Shin Godzilla, Godzilla -1, a trilogy of anime films that were released on Netflix, and an anime series called Godzilla Singular Point, as well as a series of short films that were produced for the Godzilla Fest celebrations. This is also the first Godzilla film to earn an Oscar nomination and also win an Oscar. So a storied entry in the franchise. That being said, what did you guys think of Godzilla -1? Let's bring in our guest first. Jimmy, what'd you think of this one?
It's all right.
It's all right. All right.
No, this was one of those movies that I was out proselytizing and just screaming at everyone I met. Just even if you don't like Godzilla, please go see this movie. That which is a preview of what the fandom segment might be. But yeah, no, it's just a period piece with a big lizard metaphor, and it's really, really, really well done on so many aspects of the production in a way that, especially in 2023, felt extremely refreshing to have something that was just very sincere, loved its subject, wanted to use Godzilla in the right, what a lot of people would say is the right way. I won't necessarily say it's the only way you can use it, but yeah, it's tremendously acted, performed. Everything about the production is pretty damn admirable. What they're able to accomplish.
Yeah, well said. How about you, Khalid?
Yeah, man. Great points all around, Jimmy. I echo most of that. I think that this is just a capital M movie. It's like a film, you know what I mean? Like you really just feel like you're like immersed. Cinema, you know what I mean? It's not for as much as I love the other Godzilla movies and stuff like that. There is more of an emphasis on spectacle than I guess like narrative substance. And I don't mean that in any way like in a disparaging way or anything like that. Like I think that musicals are more interested in spectacle than narrative substance. I think that that's just like what you prioritize is what you prioritize depending on genre usually. So I'm always interested when somebody takes on the like added challenge of like going genre, going for this spectacle focused thing, but like not necessarily making that the priority above like a character driven like drama like this really ultimately ends up being. We'll get into it all, but like I think that doing a World War II kind of PTSD story through the eyes of Japanese people, literally in the wake of Hiroshima, not even like just a generation later or anything like we've been seeing. It's as a backdrop, as a commentary, as a propulsion for the story. It just does so much to it. We've talked about movies like this in the past that they kind of take like franchises and then do something really cool to spice it up, like just switching the time period. The one that came to mind when I was watching this was Prey. It's just I just feel like it's a broken jackpot, you know what I mean? Or it's like a broken slot machine in that like it's just like a jackpot in that like there's so many variations with it you could do that would just be sick, you know what I mean? Like it's like take this IP and just put them in this time period, and it's like you take it away from all of like the uh pomp and stuff like that maybe like the previous stories have like given to it, and you let it just kind of like stand out on its own. If done well, of course, it could still suck, but yeah. I'll just cap my initial thoughts at this was just amazing the first time we see Godzilla like touchdown in Japan, and he's just like gotten so much bigger. uh Even though that shouldn't surprise me, it surprised me, and I think that just speaks to like my experience throughout the whole movie. What about you, Joe?
Thanks for asking, Khalid. I feel like you guys hit the nail on the head with both your thoughts, but I mean, I agree. It's really good. I really wish. I mean, I kind of wish I would have seen this on the big screen. I think this would have been a really cool, like you're saying, like it's not in service of spectacle, but there certainly was a spectacle element to it where it just looks so cool, like in
If
many
only
ways.
someone literally screamed at you over
You
the
know,
phone
gosh, I
to go
know
see it in the IMAX.
we'll never know. I guess I don't know.
In our
You
defense,
know,
Jimmy,
but
you scream a lot.
Out
but
of
yeah,
love.
but yeah, it's true. But yeah, I really liked it. I think sometimes we've talked about movies in the past how we might like a movie, but plot kind of gives out for metaphor. The metaphor is like too strong, or like plots in service for the metaphor, maybe a little too much that certain elements don't make sense, or like the metaphor is too on the nose. But I feel like this was just such a good strong balance of those things, of like commentary, metaphor, and like plot and like action and character, like all of that blended so well that it never felt like one was solely in service of the other, if that makes sense. And I think that it did a really good job of that. I think as you said, Khalid, like making this a period piece was a really good way to like freshen up the franchise in a lot of ways. I know it seems like this era is kind of trying to do new things with like different creative visions with like the Shin Godzilla and the anime entries, but like this really seems to kind of hit it with just doing something that just feels true to the original spirit, but really blazing its own trail in a lot of ways. And so I think that's very impressive. And speaking of that setting, like the majority takes place in 1947, 7 years before when the original was made and set. The nuclear fallout element, commentary alive and well. What did you guys think of this sort of like reframing of Godzilla in a sense of like, so sort of like earlier era, like you said, Khalid, you said that like you love this, but like how about Jim? Did you feel like that was like a smart choice?
What a fascinating idea to take Godzilla and use it as a metaphor to explore your like culture's role in World War II, instead of say, like just being like, oh, the French did this, or oh, we bombed Japan to stop Godzilla. you know
Yes,
like
yes,
like the way that the movie is directly dealing with it's a fascinating, like, beyond just the Godzilla elements, this is something I never thought of. Like, you do hear that there are a lot of people who, especially like in our own country, we're having people that are trying to like rewrite history about America's atrocities and all that in the past and whatever, and be like, ah, no, it ain't like that. And that is, as I understand it, something that's also kind of been happening in Japan. But like, to have a movie that's dealing with something where it's just like like the cultural kind of the sobering hangover of having worked for a country that was so adamant about throwing your life away, and like just again, this is I don't know how to experience it, but it just made me consider aspects of like what Japan must have been feeling after World War II that I didn't um really think so. And I think it's a testament to kind of genre pieces that you can absolutely engage with stuff like that while still having a few scenes where massive monster stomps around, and it doesn't have to be silly or contradictory, and it just made me consider stuff kind of, and it makes me want to see more things. Like, it makes me hope that we'll see things that also try to maybe attempt and use odd odd genres and stuff as a means to explore other parts of human history. I think it's a ripe area of potential.
I think that's a great point. Like you're saying, like it's, appreciate that you like treat the sort of genre with the weight that this kind of subject would deserve, and like it's not like a constant wink and nod at the camera, like this is absurd, isn't it? Like some of the American ones kind of did at times, but
And that's not bad.
it's fine. You could do that, but
But you
I
can
think
but it's nice when someone does something like this,
exactly, yeah. And I when I was watching this, I kept thinking about Khalid. You said this when we were talking about the 2014, the Gareth Edwards one, how a lot of movies in the US, especially big budget blockbuster ones in that era, like 2000s up until like the mid 2010s and ish, were like grappling with like 9/11 imagery. And I
Mhm.
think like it's interesting to take that mentality and like put it next to this mentality that we have, where it's like a movie that's really grappling with the imagery of like Hiroshima, another like massive disaster for a culture, and just the way that I feel like this movie kind of grapples with that is on like so many like human levels and like really different vibes. And I feel like that other Godzilla, and I don't want to like pit these two against each other because they're very different films in a sense, but I think like the American, when they tend to tackle 9/11 imagery, it's more of like this big like look at these landmarks destroyed and kind of things, and like we get that in this, but it's also like I sometimes feel like the human element is occasionally lacking in that. Like the characters aren't as strong. It's more like a hoorah, let's kind of get going kind of thing. I don't know, do you know what I'm
Mhm.
trying to say?
No, it's superficial, and
It's
it
Yeah,
9/11 by way of Independence Day.
a
yeah.
little bit like that.
Like anytime you blow us up, it's supposed to be a rallying cry and not like this horrifying thing that reminds us that life is fragile.
Yeah.
Oh my god, like a Godzilla movie made where like Godzilla is a metaphor for like the American military industrial complex of the 20th century, and like the way we came out of World War II, like learning all the wrong lessons. Like, man, how cool would that be to like watch Godzilla just like lead up to like 9/11, or like the way that we'd create radical Islam, like get ourselves mired in Vietnam, all that. Like
Mhm.
Godzilla could be a perfect thing to like engage with something like that, if you do it right and if you're creative.
So
And
in this instance, is Godzilla bin Laden? Like,
no, I mean, I think Godzilla would be like, it's the way that we just kept like attacking things, and then coincidentally, like we created the Taliban and all that shit. We did the CIA in order
sure.
to fight communism. Like we kept creating our own enemies all throughout the back half of the 20th century. You
the
know,
the problem I feel like with especially just like when you're making a movie in like Hollywood is like I think that any movie, and this is true of the Godzilla movie specifically too, when you try to make a movie with like military presence, you pretty much
exactly. Yeah.
have to like have a contract with the military to portray any element of it, and they're like not going to sign off on a lot of that stuff. So
And so
like
that's why, like, all the
yeah,
Marvel movies, they like love to dabble, and not just Marvel movies, but they dabble in 9/11 imagery, but it's never reckoning with like
yes,
what
exactly,
what
that's
what
it.
that event actually signifies, and what the fallout of it and what the buildup of it was.
Yeah, it was interesting in this movie to see like it. I mean, it was of course very critical of like American military projects, but like I mean, but also like they were critical of like the Japanese government itself too. Like
Yeah,
there was like a lot of like criticisms leveled at like policies at that time as well, which is very interesting. Um, I also just like, and this is a slightly different topic, but like according to the director Yamazaki, he talks about the monster's portrayal, and he compares Godzilla to the phrase he used was tatarigami, like in Japanese culture, he says there's good gods and there are bad gods, and he says Godzilla in this is half monster but also half god. And I think like we've talked a lot about how Godzilla represents this like force of nature in a lot of these movies, and I think this is just like an interesting like sense of reverence that is being held for the creature in this regard, where it's like it's I feel like this is the first time in a while that Godzilla's felt really scary again, you know?
So scary.
Yeah.
100% agree. I think what they do narratively with Godzilla in this is just I probably my favorite thing about it is that like this is the first time that Godzilla has felt like I guess like mythical in a long
Yeah.
time. And a lot of that has to do with like the regenerative healing factor and stuff like that. Like it doesn't look like a lizard healing. It looks like a demon telling you like it's not going to be that easy to kill him. And I just I don't know, like I love it. Like I love how snappy the exposition is. It's literally as simple as like, oh yeah, the villagers call it Godzilla. He attacks sometimes, and then when you see dead fish floating up, that means he's coming. Got it, and that's it. That's all you need to know. If there's and then, I'm a sucker for like a room full of scientists telling you all about Godzilla every time, but like
Oh, and you get it though. You still get it.
you do get that. You do
Yeah.
get that. But like this one is so much more about like I don't know, like Godzilla is like a specter in this, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And until he eventually just becomes Godzilla that we know.
So this is kind of interesting, but neither of you have seen Shin Godzilla, correct?
No.
So this is it's unfortunate that you weren't that eventually had to get cut, because like this movie is like not to pull from this movie again, but as specifically as related to Frankenstein's podcast, Shin is a very different movie, and I don't necessarily think that I would still maybe say this one is better, but like that movie, like helmed by the guy who did Neon Genesis Evangelion, the anime, uh, that is one that really also kind of like started this in a very cool, different way, where like that Godzilla is a monster. And it's not, and I wouldn't say that he would be half kind of god, half monster. It's more like the way that Godzilla is like metamorphosizing and transforming through that, and a lot of like bizarre body horror is mixed into that one as well. Even like that's even more pushed in that movie than this one. And so it is kind of a shame, because like you're completely right, but like also like the movie right before this was like really getting, or Japan seems to be getting back to that with Godzilla, and they've hit it out of the park twice, I guess I would say, with the last two movies.
Yeah, I haven't seen the full movie yet, but I've seen some of the like images of the clips of like the transformation sequences, and they look gnarly as hell.
Yeah, it's a neat different take on
Yeah.
Godzilla.
Speaking of gnarly, I actually thought we just finished when we finished the movie, just like the blowing up of Godzilla's head was gnarly.
That was so cool.
That was cool.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, that was great. The imagery there was great. I also really liked, and Khalid, we've talked about this before on the podcast, like some Godzilla movies, they just kind of like, let's just shoot it a bunch and eventually like we get it. But like when they come up with some creative narrative device to like take on Godzilla, like the scientific things of like the freon gas and the trap it in a bubble and then like make it rise up and depressurize really fast, like even though those ultimately didn't work, were like fun kind of almost callbacks to the oxygen destroyer thing, like a unique weird way.
100%. Yeah.
I really liked those ideas. I thought that was fun.
And
Yes.
that's something I have it in my notes to bring up. Like I love it when, like the guns don't work, and so they have to like, it's kind of thing where somebody will like mention a science fact online about the Earth, and you're like, wow, those are some crazy numbers, like the weight of the ocean or whatever. But it means
Yeah.
nothing. And when somebody's like, why don't, like, relatively speaking, we'd have to do something like that to take down a monster like Godzilla. Kind of like when you hear people who say like, if there was a monster like the size of Godzilla, the calories from its like internal biology would be just melting the buildings, or like it would basically be a thermal nuclear reactor
Yeah.
going
yeah.
constantly around it, just because the heat generated from it and stuff. And it's phenomenal when somebody Shin does this as well, when they get creative with how they take it down, rather than, as much as I love Pacific Rim, just be like, let's build a robot, let them fight.
Okay, but we also have to say that is an amazing solution to kaijus. Just make a robot as big as it and fight it. That is
It's
always
also
a good
cool,
idea.
yeah.
Yes, like I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying it's yes,
All right, don't knock it.
dude.
Till they try it.
Yes, I think what I really loved about it with this one was when you go back in time like you do with these period pieces, it really just like resorts, or it forces the protagonist to resort to like thinking outside the box, like you're saying. But then it also just like makes for like really funny scenarios. So like for me, I howled with laughter when they pitched the whole sink him just to bring him back up again part, and only when they said bring him back up again, I just busted out laughing. I was like, "What do you mean? You got him down there? What are you talking about?" They're like, "Well, there's no guarantee he'll stay down there." I was like, "Well, there's less of a guarantee if you intentionally float him up." I'm just saying.
Someone has never taken a scuba diving course.
Yeah, give Godzilla the bends is certainly.
It's
That's the goal, right? I think. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen what happens to someone when they get the bends, but when I saw that, I was just like, "Oh, that's so genius!"
Were you
that's
like, we should do that to a kaiju? Should it ever? Should it ever happen?
Like, yeah, freaking use the natural forces of the earth to your advantage. Like, it's no joke.
Something about this scenario reminds me of when my uncle went to Costa Rica.
That's a bender, Khalid.
Got it. Ben's
All right.
Bender. I see. No, but I thought all the plans were like just if this one felt a lot like a manga too, or like an anime in the way that the story kind of unfolded. Definitely the visuals when Godzilla touches land. You know what I mean? Like when he hits Japan proper, and
or even when he gears up for the atomic breath too.
Oh, let's talk about it. Like the first time he does the atomic breath in the city, like holy shit.
Yeah,
the
heavy
spines raising like he's I don't know, like he's a toy or something like that. But it works so freaking well. You know, just the visual of like all of his dorsal fins. What do you call them? Like
spikes.
Yeah, spikes raising up.
Yeah,
like, I was just like, oh. That was the moment when in the theater when I knew like, okay, whoever is making this has like really knows what they're doing. Like this is brilliant.
And it looked beautiful.
Oh,
like I wanted a poster of it. It looked amazing. It was like, and again, like it cannot be stressed enough. This movie was like what, $15 million?
$15 million VFX budget. Yeah.
What do you? Joker 2 cost $200 million. Like that's crazy. This looks so good.
Every dollar.
It was worth every dollar.
Yes.
The real folie à deux was making it. Got him.
That was good. That was good, Khalid.
His ass.
That was good.
But yeah, man, that looked so amazing. Like honestly, it's just every time a movie just like comes in and like has like comparatively peanuts for a budget and does something like this, it's just such a flex.
Well, the director was he comes from a VFX background, so
he was the writer, director, and VFX supervisor on the movie itself too.
Yep. And but he's from that field, so he kind of like had an understanding of what are the things we need to get on set and in principal photography that will like give our artists, you know, the best leg up possible to making these shots work.
But even more than that, it feels like there's like a deliberateness to it. Like the biggest problem with like VFX in movies now is that like 9 times out of 10, because of the process and the way it works, like it's all previs to shit. So like before you even have like a lock script, you're like, well, we know we need to use this like background or this setting. And that's why everything in the Ant-Man quantum universe can't look different. And it's just like you're doing it backwards, where like you're writing a script to the effects. Versus this guy probably like very like consciously was like choosing these like striking visuals and like was like staying consistent with it.
And it's something to point out. Like the problem isn't the CGI artists that are like working. The problem is that the production schedule, the amount of work they have, and the demands of what they've warped the pipeline into. What Disney has via Marvel is mostly the cause of this, but it's other projects as well, and all the other companies have followed suit. What they've warped that production pipeline into has like really harmed the visuals of cinema, you know, to where like Marvel, they don't use heavy blacks, you know, since like phase 2, they if you like watch them, you don't get heavy blacks or like really bright lights. And that's because there's so many reshoots and they're taking so many elements and like compositing them into the final shots that like you can't risk having dynamic, really bright lighting, because there's so many times where they're having to like cobble these entire movies together from whatever. And, eventually that's just kind of caught up to where it's just really harmed stuff. And you have a movie here where if you look up Corridor Digital on YouTube, has a series called VFX Artists React. I think it's probably
It's a good
really
show.
popular. Yeah, they do one on this, and they show you how small some of the sets really are, like on the ships, and how much actual CG there is in so much of this. And yet, even watching it rewatching it in preparation for this, having watched those and knowing how much it's CG, it's incredible how well it's hidden. Just because like the problem isn't the CG, it's how you're using the tool. Kind of,
I feel
movies.
like with this movie, I was like looking around, I was like trying to figure out like, is that I don't know, like I usually can tell. I feel like we can tell, but like it was pretty cleverly
It was
done
insane
here.
watching that and seeing like how little of the actual boats they were using and how
Right.
much they were able to just like fake in there. And I was just like, damn, like, wow.
Yeah.
It's cool.
This is a good like segue into like monster stuff, but I do want to bring up two things about the movie before we dig into that. One, the very ending, where our main character like he survives. That was kind of like one of the big twists. But then like going into the hospital and finding out that the girl he was living with survived the blast. But there's like a little like tag sting at the end where like her neck starts to get black because, as the director confirmed, it's supposedly Godzilla cells in her system. Did you guys caught that, right?
What?
No.
So there's like a small pan. The camera looks at like her neck when she's hugging him, and her like veins are a little black. And he's since confirmed it's because she has Godzilla cells in her system.
What?
Yeah,
That was too subtle.
yeah. I almost
Literally just watched this like 20 minutes ago. What?
Yeah.
Holy
So,
shit.
I'm not certain like what the plan is to do with that, but it also like coincided with like
Bride
the other.
of Godzilla? Can we get Bride
Yeah.
of Godzilla, please?
I mean, like it
It's
also was like,
Godzilla for the do?
maybe.
Guys, it's a musical, but not in the way you think.
Yeah. It anyway, like so like Nicole and I were talking about after this movie, and we're like, it felt like felt oddly Hollywood and like setting up like sequel stuff, like in that sense, like I didn't think I loved that as much, but I guess like one way I was reading it too is like the blast surely should have killed her, but I guess you could make the case that if like elements of like Godzilla cells were like,
oh, what if she's like
regenerative, it helped her survive in that regard. I don't know what the consequences of that be, if they're going to let a direct sequel be made to this or not, or if they can keep it more like standalone like they have been so far. But that's one element that I thought was worth bringing up. I don't know, since you guys didn't notice it, you probably don't have thoughts on it, but what do you think about that?
I like, my initial reaction to that is just kind of being like, ooh, like I don't love that, and I don't love the idea of sequel bait as someone who's getting really tired of sequel stuff. And I'm completely satisfied with the story and wouldn't. But if the filmmakers really have a good idea of where to go, like go ahead, go for it.
Sure.
But again, and also I can't really fault it, even though it kind of makes me feel like, that's a weird take. Just because like if you didn't notice it, then it doesn't detract from it at all. And maybe they won't end up making a direct sequel to this, because like I mean I've seen the movie 3 times and I never picked up on that at all. So yeah, maybe it's cool. Maybe it'll be cool. I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, I like it just in maybe not in the sequel baity aspect of it, but just it's very consistent with the rest of the story about like, I don't know, a lot of like action movies and stuff like that I grew up on really lionize the idea of like sacrifice and like that, like just putting so much of an emphasis on like certain characters have to die for other characters to learn anything or move on. And it's just like, well, that's not necessarily true. Like, how screwed would Luke really be if like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru survived? Like he probably still would have like gone and like learned about being a Jedi. They didn't need to die. So I like that this movie kind of like pushes back at that, like in multiple unexpected places. Cause like there was at one point where I was like, dang, that girl lost her parents and her adoptive parents. Like this is bleak. And I think that like there's something to be said about that, where like it's this big spectacle movie, and it's using like war as a backdrop, and it contends with loss and stuff like that. And I think that the way that the story dovetails with like this idea of like survivor's guilt, especially for the deserter, I think that it's a very logical setting up point for the sequel. If like, yeah, now there are people who in the wake of Godzilla's devastation find out they have regenerative abilities. Like that's like the ultimate survivor's guilt. Like I only got this power by surviving something that everybody else died, like, so being in the wake of.
It's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting idea for a potential there.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. The other thing I wanted to bring up, not necessarily with the like story itself, but I was reading that this movie, like, it received, of course, widespread critical acclaim across the world. However, in Japan, it sounds like the reception was just a bit more mixed. There was some critics who were pointing out that they felt it was a little too pro-military and came off as somewhat nationalistic, with the kind of notion that like military, old military people had to come together and like fix the problem unhindered by the government, basically. So what are your thoughts on that perspective?
As someone who doesn't have a finger on the pulse of Japanese like
Yeah.
culture and politics at all, my entire takeaway was that it was a very critical like takedown of the military culture and all that coming out of World War II. But I mean, they would know better than I would in that kind of sense.
I think that's fair
yeah.
to say. I kind of, I feel like I don't want to like step on anyone's opinion, but I feel like there was a line that stuck out to me where there was the young kid who wanted to like be part of it, the younger guy, and he was like, "I want to be part of it. I was not in a war," and they said something like, "Be proud to have not fought in the war," kind of thing like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember the line was exactly, but it was like kind of a striking moment.
I think that is verbatim if I remember right.
Yeah.
I like being an American. Really can't look down on like another culture having a bit of jingoism in their thing, because it's so entrenched in all of our media that you don't even notice it until it starts getting pointed out to you. So yeah, I don't know. I think that might be a fair criticism, but I don't think it detracts from. I think the movie can still work as an anti-war Japanese. What is it? Oh God, what is that word? Like recognition of its role in World War II or whatever. I mostly got that message.
Yeah. I
What
think
about you,
that's fair.
Khalid?
I don't know, man. I mean, every Godzilla movie has like an unrealistic response that like the government can like get its shit together just long enough to like mount a resistance against a kaiju. You know what I mean? Like this one is just a little bit more focused on like trying to be a parallel to the real Japanese government as opposed to like the theoretical Japanese governments of the sci-fi worlds that we're usually in, you know? So I don't know. I just, with these movies, I always just kind of have like this remove where even with something like this, where it's like so directly saying like these are like World War II vets and stuff like that, the second you bring Godzilla into it, I don't think you're talking about like the Japanese government anymore so much as like using that as a narrative device. Cause like I think more than anything that like Japan specifically did or like didn't do for its people, I think it's like my takeaway with this story is about kind of like what war makes us do with like valuing life. You know what I mean? Like obviously for Japan, it's like the idea of like kamikaze soldiers and like not giving them enough to enough like resources to properly like fight and survive. I think that like there's like some version of that in just about every community where it's like, do we actually like give a shit about the people that fight for us, or is it just lip service? And are we usually just like sending people to their death and like not treating that with like the gravity it deserves?
Yeah. Damn. Well said. Wow. Great points. I think, shall we monster?
Let's monster.
Yeah, we kind of already got into it, but I got some stuff about the effects that I think are interesting. So, we talked about writer, director, and VFX supervisor Takashi Yamazaki, who oversaw the visual effects. He led a team of just 35 artists who crafted over like 610 VFX shots on a budget of less than 15 million. He is now the first director to be nominated for a visual effects Oscar since Stanley Kubrick for 2001: A Space Odyssey in 1969. So that's kind of a cool claim to fame. The crew have said kind of the design process, they wanted Godzilla to be ferocious, violent, and dynamic with this kind of a static, godlike aspect. They wanted to make the dorsal fins more spiky and ferocious, as if the regenerative energy had become disorderly, so it kind of feels like chaotic, right? They also wanted to make this Godzilla feel like the deadliest in history, was a quote, which I think that came through. We were talking about how it feels really scary. But yeah, I have a quote from an IndieWire interviewer with our director Yamazaki that I thought was kind of interesting to talk about the design process. He says, quote, "The design of this Godzilla was done by myself, my artist and sculptor, and because we were working in a digital space, it allowed for much more detail than what was possible with any type of handcrafted version. So we're able to increase the resolution of the scales, for example, and make them feel really, really sharp and give it this aggressive texture. And in terms of the bottom half of Godzilla, we made it feel very heavy and dense in a way that made the viewer feel like this mountain and triangular silhouette was walking and moving through a space. So imagine the Imperial Star Destroyer from Star Wars walking." So I like that. I like that quote also because it really brings in like Khalid's like thick king image of Godzilla, and that I thought that was meaningful for that. But an interesting like way to take it. They also talked about how they kind of were inspired by like the Heisei era of Godzilla with like the different eras, like looking at that, like they were pulling from that one and kind of like modeling it a little more after that one. I think one of the specific movies, I can't remember which one exactly, but he was inspired by that to kind of design Godzilla that way a little bit more. What do you guys think of the design of Godzilla here?
It's a really good synthesis of a lot of the like older Suitimation Godzilla designs. I think that's still taking full advantage of CG. Like not
Yep.
no notes. I think it's a pretty damn good. Like it's great.
Yeah.
Not as good as the one I drew, but it's
The KAIJUBILEE logo? Yeah. No,
no.
of course not.
I loved it. It's like just the texture of it. Like this Godzilla looks like it's like made from like obsidian or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's, like there's something just like very. I don't know. It's an aesthetic that I can get behind, and I think that especially when this movie is really trying to like kind of stake its own claim and like give its own like visual language that is definitely not the standard in the Godzilla franchise. I think that it's like that much more important to make your Godzilla distinct looking, because if everything else about it is different except that like it's a Godzilla that we're all familiar with, however like we came to it, I think that it loses a lot of its power. And it's interesting because like with this one, they kind of do like the Roland Emmerich Godzilla thing of like they make him like a dinosaur for like the first part of it in the first act, but it feels so different even when you're watching it at that point where like it I don't know. I think it's just like one, they really take advantage of like the creature at night effect of it all, where it's like so much of like creature effects like really like at least in visual effects for me like pop when it's like at night, and a lot of it is just like the light that like happens to catch on a creature. Like that was like my introduction to it, and it was like so much more striking to me than any other Godzilla as a first appearance.
Yeah, and I think you bring up that point of that first Godzilla we see, like in the beginning and on Odo Island. Good call back to the original, actually. There,
Yeah.
the quote unquote mini Godzilla, it's smaller, and that was cool because I feel like there was enough there, and I think even the director pointed out they wanted to put enough into that initial design to give you the idea that this is Godzilla. It's just not quite, it's different yet, and so like that, it makes sense that when like affected by the nuclear testing, um, becomes the giant thick king that we know and love, right?
Mhm.
And so like that was really cool. Like the differences between those two like creatures was good, and that whole attack sequence on the island was really well done overall.
Oh, it's like this. This actually I forgot to shout this out, but this isn't about the monster. But like the soundtrack for this movie is
Yeah.
incredible, and
Mhm.
like the discordance, like the sirens, the way it like mimics and like an air raid siren during that whole sequence is just like chill-inducing. After this movie came out, I had that soundtrack just running as I was drawing in the I just listened to it. I put like probably dozens of listens to the whole album and hundreds of listens to certain songs on it. Like it's an incredible soundtrack and it's great.
Yeah, and I love how they use the classic music over and over again too.
Oh yeah, but yeah, like the new like this guy, he hasn't really done that many movies from what I've seen for that are at least available on Spotify. But I'm excited to see like if this guy like goes places because I think this is one of the best film scores I've heard in a while. Personally.
Yeah, it was well done.
Although it's almost cheating when you have access to the Godzilla theme song because fuck, is that theme song not just so goddamn good? Oh,
It goes hard.
it's amazing.
Going back to the design, the spikes too. I know we kind of talked about it already. I
Mhm.
love how like janky and jagged they are. It feels more like it's like growing randomly out of a body
Exactly, yeah.
versus like just like a neat, like cool design that's toyetic.
Sometimes with the suitmation, and I love the suitmation, but it's funny when the spikes like wiggle when he
Yeah.
moves. Yeah. The last kind of thing I want to talk about with the effects is, well, one of the they did create a full on replica of that plane that was pretty cool that they flew at the end. But the interesting thing about is the water sequences. I think some of the water sequences were really striking, like seeing Godzilla swimming and like his face coming up like half underwater. They said that was probably the most difficult challenge is the water simulation. Water didn't initially play a substantial role until one of the young compositing artists by the name of Tetsuji Nojima, who dabbled in water simulation in his spare time, showed Yamazaki some of his results. And they're like, well, I guess we could just add a lot more water sequences into the script because this is cool as hell.
Oh yeah. From what I understand, like it's terabytes and terabytes of data to do anything water related, which makes me think about the poor VFX artists for Avatar 2, like how much work that movie had to be.
Yeah, but anyway, in the water sequences just absolutely are phenomenal. Like easily standout moments, like Godzilla swimming looked so cool.
Yeah, it's like the best maybe water monster sequence since got like Jaws, right? Like just when he's popping out and he's chasing the boat, and it's just his face is there, and it should look goofy, but it doesn't. You're like just like, oh god, this is like
that was the only like image I had of this movie for the longest time. Like I somehow had never seen any trailers or anything like that. Like the only frame I'd ever seen was like Godzilla in the water, like swimming after the boat, and I was like, is that the whole movie? It can't be the whole movie. He's swimming after a boat.
Man, the explosion from his heat ray too in Tokyo, like I'm so glad this guy didn't chicken out and just use a gasoline explosion like that coward Christopher Nolan. Fucking cheating us out of a digital nuclear explosion trying to tell us it's better. It's real. Fuck that shit.
Is it not that pleasing ultimately?
I think it would I think they could have used some like digital smoke and stuff to make an actual like I don't know. Oppenheimer was a fantastic movie, but that explosion was kind of underwhelming. Even though they really tried to sell it as best they could in the movie.
So the roar is another thing I kind of want to talk about. I feel like that's they always try to redo the roar a little bit in every movie, and it sounds like the woman who was the sound designer, she kind of felt it was her mission to recreate the original Godzilla's roar using kind of like a modern sound system to kind of make it work for this. They were trying a lot of different methods, but it sounds like what they end up doing was playing the original roar outside through giant speakers to capture the echoes to enhance it, and then recording it through that and then bringing it back. So that's a kind of a cool take, and like it's I just love that kind of like creative like thinking and problem solving, like how are we going to do this, and like playing around with different methods. I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I got for the monster elements, but this was well done to say the least.
Incredible.
A very satisfying conclusion to KAIJUBILEE.
And speaking of satisfying conclusions, Khalid, the question on everyone's mind for about 9 episodes here, we pan in. I'm just going to paint a picture for our audience. Panning into a world in which Kaiju Khalid exists. Kaiju Khalid interacting with all of the rogues gallery of Godzilla that we've met before. Which kaiju would you most want to flirt with? And which one would you most want to fight with because it just pisses you off?
Okay. The one I would most want to flirt with is... Damn, that's a good question. All right, most I would want to flirt with. Honestly, like they all have their charms to them. You know what I mean? I don't think, I don't really have beef with any of the Godzillas.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess like if I had to, like the one I would least want to be in a relationship with is the Emmerich Godzilla.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Why?
And not because that one has kids, and you know what I mean? Like it is Frankenpod canon that I don't think that's a deal breaker. I think I don't know. I didn't feel a spark when I was watching that one. You know what I mean? The other ones, like and maybe it's because it didn't have an atomic breath. You know what I mean? Maybe I just didn't feel a literal like spark. So I don't know. Honestly, like it really is just like what's the distinguishing thing between them? Because like I feel like they all do a good job of like holding their own as like the titular Godzilla of their movie.
I think there's two clear answers.
You thought about this way harder than I did then.
I did.
You could use that to a lot of things in life, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm gonna jump in here, Khalid. I think that in terms of flirt, I thought you were gonna go with Mothra for sure. Mothra, beautiful.
Which of the Godzillas?
No, I said of the Rogues Gallery.
Oh, then yeah, Mothra.
Because Mothra, like beautiful, has the Shobi Jin. You could live in like a harem or something. Like they're like the two fairies, you know.
You think I would pick you think I would pick Mothra because I might get a harem of like tiny fairy women?
I don't know.
Every man's dream to live in Mothra's fucking harem.
I don't know.
Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah, you're really taking a lot of liberties with this, Joe.
And the other answer, there's another one.
You're saying all of this like everything is like an obvious given. Is like what's
obviously the other one. I mean, King Ghidorah, 3 mouths.
Fuck.
Crass, Joe.
When have I
ever had a mouth count?
I feel like it's happened before.
It's never happened. I don't even need to like go to the tapes. I just know for a fact there's no mouth count. That's never been a factor. But also, that's a good point.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think Mothra for non-harem reasons is probably my answer. For some reason, I was only thinking of the Godzillas, but if we're talking Rogues Gallery.
The Mothra harem, it was just it was in front of us the whole time.
Yeah. And then the Rogues Gallery that I would want to like just have a beer with, obviously that giant green dude.
Yeah, that's right.
That just I call him like Dave or something in the episode, but
from the Mecha Godzilla, the like
from the Mecha Godzilla, that dude rules. I feel like he would just be like anytime like Mothra's like pissing me off, I could just go hang out with him.
I'm gonna approach this from an entirely different angle. My choice would be the Roland Emmerich Godzilla because that's the only confirmed kaiju we have with like presumably at least a female, if not maybe like a unisex gender. Like I don't even know if there's
Are you that insecure that like if you were to get into a relationship with a kaiju, you'd have to make sure it wasn't a gay relationship?
I don't even know if these things have buttholes, Khalid. Like,
Jesus.
Think about that. This is the only confirmed, and their mouths usually have sharp things. Like what are you approaching this with? As far as nuptials are concerned, yeah,
They
we have
also-
confirmation.
Well,
of
I guess I
weapon.
just mean it when I say I'm a
So I
sapiosexual.
don't want to go, but like Godzilla and Mothra, they got like a thing. I don't feel comfortable getting between that. You know.
Okay.
I go
Wheeling
for
it.
personality over anatomy, Jim.
Well,
I mean, yeah, sure. I'm a red-blooded American man. I have needs.
That can only be filled by cold-blooded females.
Jesus. I feel like they still referred to the Roland Emmerich one as a he even after they found out it was pregnant. They kept saying he's pregnant. Remember that?
It's the fucking 90s.
Yeah, so it's
Shit.
yeah.
Yeah, I think we talked about it in that episode too. Like, they're not going to admit that they're scared of a girl.
There's some producer on there being like, "You're not gonna call Godzilla female."
Probably, yeah.
Hank Azaria does not run from women.
Contract. It's the 90s. Women get killed in the first act and put into fridges, and that's it. That's their role.
Jeez. Let's take a moment here. I want to reflect, since this is our final KAIJUBILEE episode. Perhaps we'll resurrect the banner for future Godzillas that come out. That being said, what do you think of the journey, Khalid?
It was an interesting one. I don't think that I've ever had like a deep curiosity in the Godzilla universe, but I've always had like a passing respect for it. You know, how enduring it is, like how much it's like evolved in its fandom. So like to be able to get this like intimate, long like time to sit with it and really just like watch that evolution actually for the first time was fun. It was interesting. I think that there was like times when the movies maybe didn't like blow me away, but there was always something to like talk about. There was always something to kind of take away from it. And I think that ending on such a just like potent and like palpable and powerful movie, and it's like one of the more recent ones, just makes me very excited for the future of this franchise and the characters and stories to come. You know what I mean? Like, this is the kind of stuff that makes storytelling like so exciting for artists, you know, being able to go like, yeah, all these years later and they're still finding like ways to make this fresh. Like that's the power of storytelling, baby.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it too, Khalid. I think doing these series, I'm not sure. I mean, I hope that the fans like it. We're doing the deep dive into some of certain monster. We did the Xenomania last year and doing KAIJUBILEE this year. It's really given me this like deeper appreciation for like different varied kinds of fandoms in a sense too. Like I've been involved in like fandoms for a while, and I think that we've been very keen to see how, or we've just been very prone to witness how like toxic fandoms can get. And I think like digging into the Alien franchise and the Godzilla franchise, I feel like we were like joining fandoms that I wasn't really a part of, and I felt like we were welcomed in such really nice ways. Like we got interesting guests from both of those, and I'm going to stay at Godzilla here since we've been talking about KAIJUBILEE, but interesting like people who are part of the fandoms, who have podcasts, who write books, who are like academics, people who are fans, comic book writers, like people who were just like so welcoming and willing to just share this knowledge and just excited to talk about it. And I know there are toxic fans everywhere in every fandom, but it was just fun to like dip our toes into this different realm and learning like all, you know, podcasts and like storytellers who are telling stories within these worlds outside of the main franchise. And so like I really I love that opportunity to do that. And we don't always get to do that with like a single episode, but it just gave me this new appreciation for this whole franchise as a whole. Like I know that's in some regards it can be considered like a messy franchise. There's lots of different continuity starts and things that are, you know, thrown at the wall that some work and some don't, but it's just such a rock foundation, like a cultural touchstone that it's hard to ignore. And like you said, I've always had this respect for it. So it's been really exciting to dig into it and just see like how they do continually reinvent it and keep it fresh and somehow succeed. I have like 38 plus movies now and like 70 years, like, and still going strong, even arguably stronger than it's ever been at this point. It's very impressive and very cool, and I'm glad we spent some time doing it. I think we did a good amount of films, like touching in each of the eras. I really would like to go back and watch some more on my own. Did you find Khalid an era that you were more strongly pulled to than the others?
I've said it before. I'll say it again. The first Mothra appearance really wowed me. I want to find more Gonzo stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
where it's like Godzilla is like the tip of the weird iceberg. That's my jam, I think.
I think the '60s and the late '60s, early '70s had a lot of that. The Showa era, where they just like introduce a new kaiju and all these like different ones. And I think later on they started to kind of, reuse ones like, oh, the old favorites are coming back, so it's like you get less original kaiju. That being said, I think my favorite was the Heisei era, where we had like Biollante and
Yeah.
Destroyer, and like they definitely brought back like throughout that era some of the old favorites, but like Biollante was so cool. I just love that vibe of like that late 80s 90s like aesthetic. I think it transferred really well to the Godzilla franchise. I thought that was really fun. But so that's mine. And I know we've talked a lot here. I want to bring Jim in here as generally like a listener of KAIJUBILEE, a fan. What did you think of the series?
Uh, I found it. I was a little bit nervous when you guys, because you're gonna like I could easily see people getting into the 1954 Godzilla with an open mind, but like Godzilla is kind of like one of the nerd fandoms that hasn't quite taken off to the degree that like superheroes, Star Wars, Star Trek has. And so it still has a bit of a vibe. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, of kind of like the way it was back in the 90s, where there were some people and man, we're passionate about that. And most of them are really excited when somebody just discovers the joy of it and wants to share that with people, you know? And
Yeah.
like it was delightful to hear how much you guys, once you started getting into the movies after the 1954 one, were still enjoying and like being delighted by the antics, because that's an important part of Godzilla too. It's not just the fun, it's not just it's the fun and the horror and all that kind of stuff. And it's great when you can have a movie like -1 that really has a touching, sentimental, devastating story, and also has Godzilla playing badminton with two little Mothra like pupae. Like it it's a unique franchise in that sense, and it was delightful and really just like, yes, they love it, yes, okay. I've really enjoyed listening to every aspect of this.
Huh.
Thank you. And I hope that our listeners felt the same way. It's again, like I said, it's a fun opportunity to get some unique voices on here and talk about, similar themes and things repeatedly, which was really fun. Now, wrapping this one up, let's move on to our final segment of the show, our What the Fandom segment, in which we share one or two things that we're into at the moment that may or may not have
Goodness.
anything to do with Godzilla or monsters or what have you. Bless you, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Khalid, what the fandom with you this week?
My What the Fandom this week is gonna be the Kawaii exhibit at Japan House in Hollywood. Real niche, but it's this fun free thing I went to on Sunday. I also haven't really I've been busy working, so I haven't had a chance to watch or listen to much, but I did get to go out and visit a friend who was in town for just a little bit. And we went to the Kawaii exhibit at the Japan House, which is a really small little space, but it was really cool. If I think it also is fitting with like talking about Japanese culture and how Kawaii, if I'm not mistaken, also kind of was born out of post World War II, specifically like Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think that culturally, it's an interesting parallel to Godzilla of like what it did for the art scene. And so the exhibit itself had some Kawaii related stuff. It's like really colorful walls filled with like toys and like candy wrappers and stuff like that. And then they had this like room that was like designed almost like a studio apartment or something like that, but like the walls are just like covered in like bright pinks and yellows and stuff like that. And it was a good time. So yeah, that is my What the Fandom this week. And Joe, what the fandom with you?
That sounds amazing. I I'm been I'm trying to think. I feel like a few things here. Okay, I'm actually going to shout out a manga. Jim, I had you read this today at my house, but I've been really into the story Frieren Beyond Journey's End, which is a manga I just started. I rented from the library, and I've gotten 2 volumes in, and I've kind of been really delighted with it. It's been it's created by authors Kanehito Yamada and Tsukasa Abe. Tells a story of like an adventurer, an elf woman who went on a journey with a party of adventurers to defeat a demon king. They come back successful, move on, and basically it's about her dealing with kind of the death of the first members of her party, because it was like one tiny fraction of her lifetime as an elf, and everyone else was humans and a dwarf, and so they're dying, and she's realizing that like I'm going to continue on for many years, and I'm did I really know the people that I traveled with during this time? And what does death mean to me? And what does losing these people mean to me? While at the same time taking on an apprentice and going on her own new adventures. So it's a really kind of like, I feel like cozy fantasy is a new trendy phrase, but I feel like this kind of feels like cozy fantasy. It's very like reflective and meditative, but there's like some fun, cool, like magical elements. There's some battles from time to time, but I've just really enjoyed the vibe. It's just really nice and quaint and fun. So that's one thing I'd recommend. Really enjoyed that. I also just wanted to give a shout out to, I just watched the Netflix movie Rebel Ridge from Jeremy Saulnier. Big fan of him. I really liked The Green Room, so I was excited to see this one. Very well done. Great action, great tension. Kind of almost bummed it was put just directly to Netflix. I hope it doesn't like just get lost in that. Like I think it deserves some good acclaim and a lot of watches, because I think he's a really exciting action director, verging on horror sometimes with The Green Room, but like just an exciting director in terms of like bringing cool like action stories to the screen these days, which like independent kind of style action movies. So I really enjoyed the Rebel Ridge. Definitely check that one out too if you haven't. And I'll toss it over to you, Jim. What the fandom with you?
All right. So I got. Just gonna bring it down to 2.
Yeah.
The first one is the feature film The Wild Robot. It's the newest work from DreamWorks. It is an animated feature film, and it is the latest movie written and directed by Chris Sanders, the creative powerhouse behind the only good Disney movie of the 2000s, I'll Die on That Hill, Lilo and Stitch, and the only great Disney movie, I should say, actually. And
Wait, what
what
else
did he do
came
for
out? Now
DreamWorks?
I'm like trying to think. Is that
Treasure
true?
Planet. Some people are really behind Treasure Planet. I don't subscribe to that. You had Home on the Range. You had Tarzan. Maybe it was the 2000s. That's okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, you might
it's
be right.
like no, Lilo and Stitch is just heads into like so beyond most of those. Bolt was bad. Chicken Little was awful.
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, How to Train Your Dragon. That's another. That was another one that was him. But it's an original story. It's based off a series of children's books. Uh, but it is like incredibly gorgeous. Just the way that CG animation, as much as I miss 2D animation, the way that CG animation has come into its own since the Peanuts movie, not Spider-Verse. That was not the start of this trend of like using 2D elements in 3D movies, but I'm the only one who saw the Peanuts movie, which is why I'm trying to get movies like this like brought out there. As much as Spider-Verse is the one that people like really grasp onto it, the way that this is continuing the trend of like all of the backgrounds and elements in this, it looks like the concept art you see for movies and video games, kind of, where it's extremely painterly and brushstrokes and that kind of stuff. And it's a story of a human customer service robot that gets lost in a shipment and it wakes up in an island in the middle of a forest nowhere, and it's just programmed to help people. And there's no people around. And so it just kind of meets all these forest critters and eventually just sort of becomes it finds a duckling egg that hatches and imprints onto it, and so it decides it needs to help this duck raise this like tiny kind of runt duckling that or gooseling, sorry, gosling, Jesus, that ordinarily wouldn't survive, and so it's their relationship. It becomes kind of friends with a fox that initially wants Pedro Pascal voices him, that wants to use it as a means to protect and help get him food and stuff like that. And it's really delightful. It's kind of a little bit, it's very sincere and lovely, but also with a little bit darker tinge than like Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon than a lot of other children's animation, which I think makes wearing its heart on its sleeve work just that much better. And it's phenomenal. Like it's a great movie. I really hope people see it. I actually looked up today, and it does seem like it's kind of picking up steam by word of mouth because it's just very good. And I just want to keep that going. Please do, if you got kids, if whatever, even if you're a bad parent like Joe and Nikki, like you should really try and make up for that and take them to this film, and try and make up for the neglect you leave your children in.
So I make up for it by going to see the movie.
Yes.
Okay,
All be forgiven. And the other one, I also try to I know I pushed I read and watch stuff too, but Joe and Khalid read way more stuff, like things than me, and they don't play video games. So honestly, the best horror genre is video, or the best platform for horror is video games, bar none, as much as I love books and all that. And so I try to push video games out on this just because it's not. I want to second the guy that recommended Control, like the last podcast.
Yeah, best one, yep.
That game is so freaking good, and it's the X-Files turned into a very satisfying, amazing. Imagine if the X-Files, if Dana Scully had an imaginary friend as a child that then came back and told her to go to a secret room in the FBI building, and she discovered a secret department of the FBI that is in this non-Euclidean room called it's great. Please play that. But the one I've been trying to get people, because a lot of the podcast audience that I know of this, that's not really into playing more action oriented games like that. But if you can type, you can play this game. It is called Crypt Master. So it is a dungeon crawler that's kind of in the D&D mode, where you play as a party of resurrected adventurers who were buried and died in a crypt. And then this necromancer called the Crypt Master, who is very clearly an homage to the Crypt Keeper, has brought them back to life. And he wants you to help fight him out of this necropolis to get back to the surface. And I haven't beaten it. I don't know where it goes, but I think this game was just made by 2 guys, but it's really funny and delightful, because how you play the game is you just kind of move with the arrow keys. But then when you say get into battle with a monster, instead of clicking a action from a menu or doing timed button presses, you have to type out the words you want each of the party members to use. So you type hit to have your fighter hit them, or jab to have your assassin character stab them, or shout or howl. Those will all these words will give you different stuff. And so it's kind of like Mavis Beacon Teaches Typing, if you guys remember that program from school, where when you get into combat, you're just trying to type out these words as quickly as possible, and they all kind of have little cooldowns and stuff, and remembering that, and that's fun. And then when you discover chests in the world in order to get new vocabulary to use in combat, when you discover chests, you have to basically play the game Wordle. I don't know if you guys have played that, the New York Times game.
Yeah.
And so you play Wordle to try to guess what's in the chest, while the Crypt Master he gives you hints. No, this is something sharp. Oh, I don't think you could use it like that. Just kind of stuff. He's got it's a delightful, fun game for $25. It's just so much value and entertainment, and it's also just a really clear passion project, a weird underground video game that I think I think it would be up the alley for people who even aren't into video games, but kind of like D&D, like word games, like word solutions, all of that. You don't need a powerful computer or anything. It's just a really cool, fun game with that deserves more attention.
Cool, great recommendations. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy.
Sorry if that went wrong.
No, that's what the segment's for, right? Recommendations and why they're cool. Before we hop out, I did want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Just mention the Patreon. Give a shout out to all of our Patreons. Jim is one of them. It's a great time to be there. we are working on getting some more Franken bits. We've been a little swamped lately with some things, but we were working on getting some more out there very soon for you all. So if you want to join our Patreon, there's a $1, there's a $3 and a $7 level. Could help us out. Our podcast is just something that we do. It's a labor of love. We don't, have any sponsors or get any money for it. So anything helps to help with updating equipment, maintaining subscriptions and all that stuff. So we appreciate all the patrons. And if you are interested, please consider joining us there. Please consider leaving us a nice positive review. That helps more people find us too. And follow us on our socials at Franken Podcast. We're on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Threads right now. So that's where you can find us and reach out and let us know what monster movies we should do next now that we're done with KAIJUBILEE.
Oh my God, I forgot we do other
regular monsters
properties. Yeah, other franchises, other IP.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that being said, thank you so much, Jim, for coming on the podcast, joining us for this finale, and just like making the art for us for this. It was really cool to have something special to like put out there with each episode, like have a cool thumbnail and cool art. I mean, honestly, like I feel like that's something I feel really proud of with this podcast. Is just like the imagery that we have to go along with what we're able to produce. So thank you for everything.
Oh, I am more than happy to whatever you guys need. I'm sorry we didn't get the shirts done or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we could still work on that.
We should still work on it.
Yeah. Well, merch will be, to the listeners. Merch will be coming.
Okay. Awesome. Yes. Let's commit to this.
Yes.
It's on there now. We got to do it, guys. Yeah, honestly, just echoing everything Joe said, Jimmy, thank you so much for the artwork you do for the pod in general, but also for KAIJUBILEE. It looks amazing. I love whenever you have the time to make stuff for us. It's always just so top notch. And thank you for being a guest on this episode. Thank you to all past guests for the KAIJUBILEE. Like I love like what fandom can inspire, and seeing so many people with like such a close relationship with Godzilla like made this so much more tangible to me in a way that like I don't think I would have gotten otherwise. So the biggest thank you to Joe for coordinating this. You got some amazing guests and some really cool discussions, and you work really hard on the podcast, buddy. So
Thanks.
I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit passenger side and make dumb jokes through all that.
I love it. I couldn't do without you.
You're a machine, Joe.
You are, Joe. But yeah, and thank you to all of you at home that listen to this and make it so fun and worthwhile too. Until next time, creep it easy.